What's up, guys? Gonna be talking today about BAM! The Girl in the Stars by Mark Lawrence. It was published this year, 2020, and it is a frozen fantasy adventure that heats up into something so much more. Now, before I get into it, though, I do want to say that I read this with a buddy of mine, Gregory LaPerche, and we just did a buddy read on this book last month. We just finished it up a little bit ago. I'm going to put his channel link in the description, and I'm also going to talk more about this at the end of the review, so just stay tuned for that. The story takes us to a frozen world that is home to several different tribes. Now, living on this planet is not exactly easy. It's more of surviving than it is actually living. Harsh environments bring harsh realities. And the harsh reality in this case is that there's a giant pit. And if you're a child that doesn't fit in the survival category, your ass is going in the pit. It's a disturbing ritual, to say the least. But these broken children really have no place amongst the ice. So when the story begins, it takes place with our main character, Yaz. Now, Yaz and her family, as well as the rest of her tribe, are on their way to this ritual to meet the regulator, the man that will judge the children and choose whether they just should go to the pit or remain on the ice. Now, I really don't want to touch a whole lot on the narrative of this book. I was really caught pleasantly off guard several times while reading this book, and I would love to just kind of let everybody have that same experience if at all possible. So let's just get into some stuff. I think the first thing I want to talk about is what I used to always talk about first, is the pace of this book. It's a very fast-paced book. It does slow down a couple spots here and there, but for the majority, it's a very steady to fast pace, and Mark Lawrence does a great job of using that pace to build tension, and so you're just like burning through the book as at the same time your nerves are starting to become on edge. He's a master at building tension. Next, I want to talk about the magic system in the book. The magic system in the book is both straightforward and confusing. So the magic system in the book is basically like magic it's inherited. It's basically in your blood. It's been passed down from these other tribes, and some of the powers are very, like I said, very straightforward. You know, maybe you're big and strong, or maybe you're very fast, or maybe you have one of the more confusing powers. And I'm not even going to try to describe what they are. I'll let you try to figure that out on your own. I'm just saying that it's not exactly easy to understand and grasp, and I'm not sure if Mark Lawrence has left some of this a bit mysterious and we're not supposed to understand the entire system, but it did make it a little tough reading the story, and I felt like I was kind of hitting snags every time Yaz used her magic, because it was definitely not so straightforward. Throughout the book, Mark Lawrence definitely plays on some interesting concepts and themes, one of which being in a survivalist situation, trying to choose from right and wrong, because it's not always going to be so easy to tell which one is which, as well as once you've made your decision, does it even matter? The next thing I want to talk about is the world in the story. Like I said before, this is a frozen world. It's very brutal just trying to survive. Your chances are pretty low. On a little side note here, I was very interested in this world because I live in Alaska, where, I mean, if you live on this planet, you know Alaska can get pretty cold. And I had just kind of a question. I was wondering, how cold does it get on this planet? Especially because the main character, Yaz, her tribe is kind of well known for living in this region that's the coldest, and they are like the best at surviving the ice. And that just brought a little question. It was like, man, how cold is it there? And somebody was telling me it's -40. I don't know if that's an accurate number, but I can tell you this. I know what -40 feels like. and it sucks. It's like no amount of clothing can keep you warm. Any exposed skin is susceptible to frostbite. Let's just put it this way, man. If you spit, that spit is an icicle before it hits the ground. It's a spit sickle. So, yes, the world here is brutal. It was really easy for me to envision. I don't know if it's going to be the same for everybody else. I do think that Mark Lawrence does a great job of describing stuff. He's not an overly descriptive writer. He gives you just enough of the goods mashed with the info. It just works out really well. And I think that this world was beautifully done. There were certain parts that, even with my Alaskan knowledge, there were some environments that weren't as easy for me to understand, at least not right away. But all in all, I really enjoyed tromping through this frozen wasteland. Another thing I kind of want to add on to the world building and the magic system is just that Mark Lawrence has created quite a bit of mystery here. We don't really know what's going on. The book isn't told through first person, but we certainly are learning along with the main character. Every time Yaz figures something out, that's the first time we're figuring it out. So like I said, there's a lot of mystery to the book. Even in the ending, I say that there's still quite a bit of mystery. That's okay. It's only book one out of three. But that being said, Mark Lawrence does give us a taste of lore. He does give us a taste of the things that the history of the planet and the people that came before. So there are little gaps that are being filled in. I do think that there are some that are left open. I do believe they're left open on purpose. Like I said, this is only book one, so it's not a con that there's still a good amount of mystery. That's actually kind of a pro for me. I don't want to know everything going into only, for the first book. Now, the characters in the book, they are well done. They're enjoyable. But I do feel they take a back seat to the story at hand. There's so much craziness, and there's Mark Lawrence has got a brain on him, and he certainly can blow your mind, and he will in this book. And with all those crazy concepts and all the stuff that's going on and all those what moments, I just feel like all that overshadows the character building in the book. Like I said, I didn't hate any characters in this book. They were all fleshed out enough to be enjoyable. There was a cannibal character in the book that was frightening, and it was very visceral when the character when you were reading about him. It just made your skin crawl. It was right up my alley. The main character, Yaz, I would say, for whatever reason, while reading this story, I definitely got Chosen One vibes from her. Like I said earlier, the magic system's not exactly straightforward, especially when it comes to Yaz. But while you're reading it, you kind of think that you have a hard magic system, but Yaz definitely finds ways to make it soft. It is what it is. She's a fun protagonist to follow. She's, facing a lot of difficult choices to make throughout this book. It's a survivalist story, so every decision she makes is, it's her survival and other survival is pending on it. And I mean, really just capping things off, I want to talk, once again, Mark Lawrence's writing is just phenomenal in this book. He is a master, just a master class at giving us these little one-liners or juicy bits or cliffhangers at the end of chapters. Like I swear, every chapter that you end, it's really hard not to jump into the next one, like I said, just because of how they're written. And even some of the beginnings of chapters are just so beautifully written as well. Like, Mark Lawrence's prose stays true throughout the book, for sure. One thing I guess I want to add, I'm hesitant to talk about it, though, because I don't want anyone to make a comparison, but this is just what happened while reading. While I was reading the book, I actually got quite heavy, like, Dune vibes. This reminded me a lot of Dune in certain ways. Like I said, I don't want anyone to make this I'm not comparing. I'm just saying, man, when I was reading it, it was like, oh wow, this world has such a harsh environment. Like, just trying to live, there is no living in the world, it's only surviving. That reminded me a lot of Arrakis. And Yaz really reminded me a lot of Paul Atreides. She's, a young protagonist that basically just gets thrust into this situation. She's basically got all this power, doesn't even know what to do with it yet. She gets thrust into this whole new culture of people. She's trying to navigate everything. There was a lot of just similarities there to me. At least that's how I felt. And those are not bad similarities to have. Dune is an amazing book. And so is The Girl in the Stars. And I do feel it's needed. It's slightly spoilery, but I think it does need to be said. And this needs to be said a lot of times when it happens. Like I said, Mark Lawrence is really good at building tension, and he will do that all the way up to the end of this book. Now, the book does end on a massive, massive cliffhanger. So I just want the reader to be ready and prepared. This will leave you hanging in the worst way, but once again, Mark Lawrence has built this tension, and it's going to last until we get the next book. And that's actually kind of a genius move. So I think it's pretty easy to see that I enjoyed this book, with all its pleasant surprises, its crazy concepts, amongst other things. I just thoroughly enjoyed myself here. Though my 2 cents for the slow and the struggling. For the struggling reader, I just do feel like you're probably going to have some trouble with the book. I think that the magic system, at least parts of the magic system, when Yaz goes to use her magic, there's a good chance that you might get lost in that somewhat. That's okay. I mean, this is a good story, and you can work your way through that. I would say as well, though, you're probably going to snag up on some of the environment. Like, just some of these... Mark Lawrence is going to throw your ass for a loop. And so he's going to maybe put you in a new environment that you've never even thought of or seen or anything. And so it might become a little hard to form it in your head only going off the description. Like I said, struggling readers, just, beware. Slow readers, on the other hand, this book is almost designed for you. Mark Lawrence broke the chapters down into just a couple pages each, really. This is like one of the best books I've ever seen as far as starting and being able to put down at any time. Like I said, those chapters are short, and it makes this thing extremely accessible for the slow reader. Now, before I head out, I definitely want to at least touch on how I read the book, because this was my first buddy read ever. My friend Gregory LaPerche has a channel himself, and I know that he just did his review for the book a couple days ago. I'm going to put his channel link in the description. Please go check it out. Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it like this. Like I said, this was my first time, so it was really nice to be able to go like quarter of the way, half the way, and then the whole way, each step, like comparing notes, and just being able to share the experience with somebody was actually a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing it again. I think we've kind of got something planned out for the future. We'll see when we get to it. Other than that, I want to give a big old thumbs up to Mark Lawrence. Really enjoyed the book, and I'm extremely excited for the rest of the trilogy. Thanks, man. As always, it's a pleasure reading your books, man. All right, guys. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the thumbs ups. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for everything you're doing for me, all right? Even my daughter appreciates it. All right, guys.